There were some great and prescient ideas during the classical period of ancient Greece. In the School of Athens fresco by Raphael, Plato can be seen symbolically pointing at the sky, and Aristotle points at the earth. The latter tended to have mundane explanations about the world. The former spoke of a transcendent reality. In the 17th century, Leibniz and Newton were contemporaries, and both of them invented calculus around the same time. The latter focused on a deterministic view of the world. The former spoke of an immaterial reality of which space and time are epiphenomena. In the 20th century, Jung and Freud had completely different views about the world. The latter was a materialist who believed human psychology revolved around the sexual impulse. The former believed in the power of dreams to self-integrate, the collective unconscious, archetypes that influence human behavior, synchronicity, individuation, and unus mundus, one world, a primordial unified reality from which everything derives, a concept which he explored with Wolfgang Pauli, one of the pioneers of quantum physics. In all of the dichotomous examples I provided, I have tended to favour the latter examples of men who were closer to a physicalist view of the world. But since scientists proved local realism to be false quite recently, as I mentioned in previous videos, I have had to revisit the former examples of distinguished men who endorsed their own versions of idealism. In the book Heaven and Hell, Emanuel Swedenborg, who studied physics, mechanics, philosophy, and aspired to be a great scientist, states that in life, love of self and the world drives one to hell, but the love of God and of fellow beings leads one to heaven. Certainly, those who are materialistic suffer the most, as material things don't last and have no real significance. In fact, eternal truths like maths and its infinities are alluded to by physical reality, but find no lasting expression in the finite and ephemeral. Consciousness has a completely different ontology from the physical world, as it can't even be detected other than subjectively, and eludes the reductionist approach. Swedenborg's God is all good and the wellspring of reality. To find his grace you have to look within. He is the one from which everyone and everything comes from, even though some have lost their way. Swedenborg also says there is no time and space as we understand them in the spiritual world, as both of these features are replaced by a sense of state. He claimed that when people die they go to an intermediate state, which brings to mind the bardo state between death and rebirth in Tibetan Buddhism. Swedenborg terms this intermediate state as the world of spirits, a no man's land where we gradually lose the ability to pretend. I suppose we are stripped of all of our Jungian personas, and our true selves come to the fore. The true self is revealed as secret thoughts and intentions that one held are exposed and serve as the source of judgment. Subsequently, the spirit will undergo either heavenly or hellish experiences of his or her own free will. In other words, we judge ourselves in the end according to Swedenborg's divine revelation, as he was certainly an advocate for spiritual free will. A lot of what he says in the book regarding judgment in the afterlife is similar to the spiritualist view that souls' vibrations tend to match the frequency of the realms they are drawn to. In fact, in the early 18th century, he attempted to explain spiritual and mental events in terms of minute vibrations or tremulations, as he put it. Swedenborg also held something similar to the Akashic records in theosophy to be true. He said that every memory about your life is remembered in the afterlife, which goes hand in hand with a suspicion I've had about the brain limiting the extent to which we can perceive things compared to an existence as a discarnate being in the afterlife. Speaking of the brain, he was also the first one to officially anticipate the neuron's concept well ahead of his time. His neuroscientific prescience has actually been empirically verified in modern times, and he was also concerned with the mind-body problem. He was definitely interested in philosophy of mind and even kept a dream journal containing some intriguing visions. Swedenborg's affirmation of multiple heavenly realms has a lot more in common with, say, Robert Bruce's astral dynamics treatise than Christian belief, even though his magnum opus was Arcana Coelestia, or Heavenly Mysteries in English, which was a spiritual interpretation of the Bible full of archetypal symbolism and even includes descriptions of extraterrestrials. Later he would write and publish The True Christian Religion. There are some really striking and spooky things about Emanuel Swedenborg. He wrote a letter to John Wesley once, the man who founded Methodism, saying that he was told in the world of spirits that Wesley wished to speak to him. This startled the evangelist, since he hadn't told anyone about his interest in Swedenborg's work. Swedenborg also seems to have predicted the exact day he would die and spoke of it as if he was going on holiday, according to his landlord's servant girl. By the way, if you are interested in the afterlife according to Emanuel Swedenborg, check out the channel Off the Left Eye, and if you wish to expand your consciousness using visualizations and meditative exercises, do check out Claudio Soprano's The Non-Physical, all on YouTube.